What's up, guys? All right, Alton here again with another video, and this one is entitled 5 Atheist Face Palms. So what I want you guys to do, I want you to watch this video, really listen to what is being said in these videos by these atheists, because I've kind of been talking to atheists like all week, and some of these responses that you're going to hear in this video is basically what I get on a daily basis. And I made a video and it was entitled how atheism was very incoherent and very inconsistent. And I want you guys to listen for yourselves to some of the most known atheists that we know today in TV and media and with the books and all of that stuff. So I want you to listen to what these guys say when trying to defend basic topics. So let's just get right into it. Alright, so this first video is Richard Dawkins and Bill O'Reilly, and I think they did this video, it was probably about around like 2007 2008 when he had Richard Dawkins on his show. So I want you to just listen to this. To me, it's hilarious. This video is hilarious to me. Always has been, always will be. So what I want you guys to do is just to watch this video, listen to Richard Dawkins's remarks and his rebuttals on some of the most simple questions that Bill O'Reilly asked him. And I want to say that Bill O'Reilly, he is not a Christian, okay? So I'm not trying to say that that we should support Bill O'Reilly as a Christian brother, because he's not. He's actually a Roman Catholic. I've always enjoyed this interview from Richard Dawkins and Bill O'Reilly. So let's take a look at it.
I think it takes more faith to be like you, an atheist, than like me, a believer, and it's because of nature. You know, I just don't think we could have lucked out to have the tides come in, the tides go out, sun go up, sun go down. Don't think it could have happened.
We have a very full understanding of why the tides go in, the tides go out, of why the continents drift about, of why life is there. Science is ever more piling on the evidence, piling on the understanding.
But it had to get there. I understand that you know, the physiology of it, if you will, but it had to come from somewhere. And that is the leap of faith that you guys make, that it just happened.
Well, a leap of faith, you don't actually need a leap of faith. You're the one who needs a leap of faith, because you are actually, the onus is on you to say why you believe in something. There's an infinite number of gods you could believe in. I take it you don't believe in Zeus or Apollo or Thor. You believe in, presumably, the
Jesus.
Christian God, Jesus.
See, Jesus was a real guy. I could see him.
Yeah.
You know, and I know what he did. And so I'm not positive that Jesus is God, but I'm throwing in with Jesus rather than throwing in with you guys, because you guys can't tell me how it all got here. You guys don't know.
We're working on it. Physicists are working.
When you get it, then maybe I'll listen.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, if you look at the history of science over the centuries,
yeah,
the amount that's gained in knowledge each century is stupendous. In the beginning of the 21st century, we don't know everything. We have to be humble. We have to, in humility, say that there's a lot that we still don't know.
And, you know, being humble is a Christian virtue.
Well,
so there you go.
Of course it is.
All right, when you guys figure it out, then you come back here and tell me, because until that time, I'm sticking with Judeo-Christian philosophy and my religion of Roman Catholicism, because it helps me as a person.
That's different. If it helps you, that's
absolutely.
Great.
And
but that doesn't mean it's true.
Well, it's true for me. You see, I believe.
You mean true for you is different from true for anybody else? How can something be
absolutely,
true for you?
because I can't
Something's either got to be true or not.
I can't. No. I can't prove to you that Jesus is God. So that truth is mine and mine alone. But you can't prove to me that Jesus is not. So you have to stay in your little belief system.
You can't prove that Zeus is not. You can't prove that Apollo is not. Or
I saw Apollo, man. He was down there. He's not looking good. Now, we also differ in the sense that you feel that religion has been a bane, B-A-N-E, to civilization, and I feel atheism has. And I will point to the worst mass murderers in modern times: Hitler, Stalin, Mao, and Pol Pot. All confirmed atheists, all people who wanted to wipe out religion.
Alright, so this next video is with Bill Maher and a guy named Ross Douthat. I hope I'm saying his name right. Forgive me if I mispronounced it. But Bill Maher had this guy on his on his show to interview this guy, and they were talking about religion in general, primarily Christianity, versus atheism, and who causes the most damage in society. So check this out, pay very close attention, and listen to it.
The Bible's, divided into the crazy and the wicked. You're saying the crazy.
I'm going to take a drink of water on that.
I mean, but the Bible does say, it's funny. It says, this is 100% true. The Bible says you have to take it like that. Now, if it's not 100% true, I would say the whole thing falls apart. But okay, let's say it's okay to say the crazy stuff. We don't take that literally. What about the wicked stuff? At the end of Religulous, I say if you belong to a social club that contained as much violence, anti-women, anti-homosexuality, just plain wiping out people, genocide for no reason, you would probably resign from that social club.
I think a lot of the question about sort of religious history, right? In part, it comes down to your view of human nature. If you think human nature is, pretty much okay, and then you look at religion, you say, well, here comes this force telling people to believe in their sky fairies and their flying spaghetti monsters and so on, and it's, it's taking people and it's making them kill each other and so on. On the other hand, if you think, as I do, and I think it's borne out by a lot of empirical evidence, that people are mostly pretty shitty to each other most of the time, independent of whether they're religious or not, then you look at religious history and you say, well, wait a minute, okay, yeah, obviously it's justifying genocide here, but people commit genocide without resorting to religion for justification. What's interesting is the moments when religion comes in and lifts us up.
That's not quite true. Actually, the opposite is true. Someone once said, to have a normal person commit a horrible act almost never happens without religion. For how people get on a plane and fly it into a building, it had to be religious.
I think what's true is to get a normal person to commit a crazy act, it does take ideas, right? But those ideas can be secular as well as religious. A lot of normal people did.
Mostly in history,
not in the 20th century, not in the Soviet Union. A lot of dead bodies there.
Right.
Not a lot of Christians, except among the dead bodies.
I would say that's a secular religion, but all right.
Now, this next clip is a clip from, it's one of my favorite clips. I watch this clip all the time, and it's actually Richard Dawkins versus John Lennox in a Christian versus atheist debate. So I want you guys to listen to what Richard Dawkins has to say about faith and how John Lennox responds to what faith really is, and if he asks Richard Dawkins, does he have faith? And I want you to kind of watch Richard Dawkins' response on this. It's pretty funny, pretty entertaining.
When you say faith is rational and evidence-based, I mean, if that were true, it wouldn't need to be faith, would it? I mean, if there were evidence for it, why would you need to call it faith? You'd say just evidence. And when you said that faith in relativity, in Einstein's theory of relativity, is evidence-based, that of course it is. But the evidence is all important. I mean, Einstein's predictions fit in with observed fact and with a whole body of theory, whereas we only need to use the word faith when there isn't any evidence.
No, not at all. I presume you've got faith in your wife. Is there any evidence for that? On
Yes,
which you
plenty.
base it? Yes.
Plenty of evidence. Let's generalize it. Never mind about my wife. Let's generalize it.
All right, got another video from John Lennox, and this time it is him versus Lawrence Krauss. Now, this debate, although it was kind of entertaining for me, but it was also kind of sad. And I really want you to pay attention. Really want you to pay attention to this, because Lawrence Krauss, he's going to try to explain where nothing comes from and how nothing can be physical, which is pretty sad. And I want you guys to really listen to his response or his rebuttal to his book, or how he defined his book, A Universe from Nothing, and how he's trying to explain what nothing is. So take a look at it and pay attention. Pay very close attention to what he says.
What am I to make of, for instance, the statement, since something is physical, nothing must be physical? that to my mind, pardon me for saying so, is complete nonsense. And
nothing then, John?
Nothing in the ordinary sense.
Something?
No, nothing in the ordinary philosophical sense is the absence of.
I don't care about philosophy.
Well, that's your problem, Lawrence. That's your problem.
But we're talking science here.
And you are writing for the general public, and you're claiming that the universe comes from nothing, and you give 3 or 4 different definitions of it, which are increasingly speculative. And the first one, this business, since something is physical, nothing must be, is just a nonsense
What is
statement.
nothing, then? Is nothing not the absence of something?
It's the absence of anything. And
Okay.
it's therefore the absence
physical?
of space.
Is
It's the
what's
absence.
anything?
It's
What's
the
anything?
I'm trying to respond, Lawrence. I let you speak.
Okay.
You're not letting me speak.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Okay. What it seems to me your book does, and is to, because you cannot answer the question in the ordinary sense of getting something out of nothing in its commonly understood sense, you make a series of progressively speculative redefinitions of nothing. You first of all have nothing as empty space or a quantum vacuum, and then you talk about electron-positron pairs popping out of empty space near a nucleus of an atom. So that's not nothing. You have to have atoms there for that to happen. And then you begin to try to remove space analogically using that first analogy. So it becomes increasingly more speculative until you get to the point where you say everything not forbidden by the laws of physics must happen. But that's nonsense as well. Physics doesn't prevent an earthquake happening in London, but it doesn't mean that that must happen one day. So I think you need to clear up your ideas about nothing.
Well, I mean, now that you've misrepresented the book, we can go on. I mean, the point is that... the point is that you said as commonly understood, as commonly represented nothing. Well, I suggest to you that nothing is not commonly represented. Like many words, it's a colloquial term that means many different things to many people, including in the Bible, where nothing really referred to an infinite void, not which many people would say is empty space. And I think if you asked most people what is nothing, you'd come up with the idea of empty space, for example. I've argued that's probably not a good enough definition of nothing. But if empty space is your definition of nothing, then it's perfectly, not only will something come from it, something is required to come from it. And so science has just changed the definitions. And people may not like that, but I call it learning.
Okay.
Well, you're trying to convince the world of this thing, and I find reading your book, and I think I've read it 4 times now, and I've enjoyed reading most of it. I find it less and less convincing.
Did you catch that? He said that science changes the definition, and he calls that learning. So it's okay to change the definition of something just because you don't agree with it to try to prove a point that is very inconsistent and incoherent. And that's basically what atheists do all the time. They'll take something and try to change the definition on it to make it work for their worldview, which is already inconsistent and incoherent. So, but he calls that learning. Let's go to the next one, man. Yeah.
You find these shock patterns and you find the minerals from Mars. So it is not crazy. It's extraordinary, but not crazy to suggest that Mars was hit with an impactor through what's generally called a Hohmann orbit, an orbit where it falls toward the sun but ends up on the Earth. You and I are descendants of Martians.
Okay,
That
and
is
that's
not
not
crazy.
And that's not crazy. Is it crazy that you and I are descendants of Adam and Eve?
We are descendants from a common ancestor. I don't
But
know
is
that
it
they went by
crazy that
those names.
God made the first man and woman and we're descendants of them?
For me, there's no evidence of that.
So is that crazy?
But
I wouldn't use that word.
What would you say?
It's you're betraying your intellect. You're not using your head. That's what I would
So
say.
you're saying it is crazy.
It's frustrating.
which is more
Frustrate-
crazy
but,
though?
But
being
you're saying we're
from a
descendants of
Martian?
Martians, and that's not crazy?
I say it is not crazy. It's extraordinary, but not crazy.
Okay,
and
so
we have a process
where are
by
the-
which we can prove that.
Prove,
That's what's so exciting.
prove that we're Bill, I want you to do that for all these young people. Prove that we're descendants from Martians.
I can't prove that right now. I don't know where you were the last minute and a half.
I thought you said we could.
We want to send spacecraft there.
Okay.
We have a process by which we can make this discovery.
Okay.
And it could be on Europa. There might be something alive.
What if there is no discovery?
Well, that's
You don't
also
discover
extraordinary.
anything.
That makes us even more unusual in the universe.
Are you prepared to take... We have a book called the Bible that says it is the Word of God who made all things, who said, here's what happened in the past. Are you prepared to take that and consider it in regard to the evidence you see in the present?
So I claim, Mr. Ham, that I spent a lot of time on it.
That
I read it twice.
Uh-huh.
I followed the guys around on the maps.
Uh-huh.
I decided that humans made the whole thing up.
And did you like how Bill Nye tried to purport that we are somehow Martians? Now, atheists argue all the time that we have no evidence for the Bible and God or Jesus or anything like that. But yet and still, there's no evidence for Martians, but we're descendants of Martians. They don't know it yet, or they'll never know it because there's zero evidence for it. But they don't know it, but they want to promote that we are Martians, that we're descendants of Martians. But there's zero evidence of it. Isn't that the same thing that atheists charge us with not having enough evidence? And that's why they can't believe in God, but they have zero evidence of Martians, but they believe in Martians. So you guys can see why I call this video the 5 face palms of atheism, man. And I want you guys to like, rate, share this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section, man. And as always, you guys have a blessed day.